So it is actually on there.
Oh, I see it. I
just
see.
didn't see it.
Yeah.
I was reading down.
Shabbat Shalom. Hi. Shabbat Shalom. It's so good to see you. On this chilly, willy night. Come on in. Come on in. Don't be afraid. Come on. Hi. Shabbat Shalom. It's so good to see you. Hi. Alan, what's up? I know, right? Careful. It's good to see.
Who did you use to play? Did you do covers, original?
So we are waiting for one other person before we begin. Shabbat Shalom. Did everybody have a good New Year? It was a new year. Our second one, right? Our second one of the year. So, well, it's wonderful to have everybody here. We are actually waiting on our rabbi, but we have a lot of other special things planned for you. And you are extra special tonight because you get to be the first congregants to hear the new band that we have. We're waiting for Lexi. We're not quite sure where she went, but she's also, and Marcy Howard is a part as well. And our new name is the Mazel Tones. So you will be seeing us every Friday night. And every first Friday of the month, not every Friday night, and then maybe a couple other times as well. There's Lexi, come on in. All right, our live stream has begun, so Shabbat Shalom, everybody in cyberspace, and welcome to a really fun night of Shabbat Ruach. Do you know what Ruach is? Who knows what Ruach is? Yes, Alan. Spirit. That's right. We've got it strong. And the mazel tones, we've got it down. All right, here we go. Ya'alo Sadai. Ya'alo Sadai v'chol asher bo ya'alo Sadai. Ay, 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 ya'alo Sadai v'chol asher bo ya'alo Sadai. Ay, 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 asheranenu kol atzeria, asheranenu kol atzeria, asheranenu kol atzeria, asheranenu kol atzeria. We're gonna kick it up. Ya'alo Sadai, yeah, bechol asher bo ya'alo Sadai, ay, 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 got the Ruach going tonight. All right. Welcome, Rebbe.
Good to see you all.
You're
Shabbat
here
shalom.
and safe. Thank goodness.
Yes, just a little
Pressure's
traffic.
off, team. All right.
All right. Hello, everyone. Shabbat shalom. It's lovely to see all of you tonight. It is lovely to be joined on stage by the Mazel Tones.
Yes, sir.
A Shehechianu moment indeed for all of us. As like every week, you are inside Temple Beth El of South Orange County. If you need to be outside, any of the doors will accomplish that for you. If you need the restroom, you can go out that way and around the back of the social hall or that way. Are there any questions? No. Are there any criticisms?
It's a little early.
Every week I ask, and no one has actually taken me up on it. Okay. We're going to continue now with Shalom Aleichem on page... Oh, by the way, if I give a page number out and you don't see what you're looking for, there are two different paginations in these, and one is 2 pages different than the other. So if I announce, let's say, page 100, and you don't see what I asked, check 98 and 102. Okay. All right, so we're going to continue with Shalom Aleichem on page something. There it is, page 7. 7.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon. Mimelech, Malachei Havakim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Bochem L'Shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon. Mimelech, Malachei Havakim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruchuni l'shalom, malachei hashalom, malachei elyon. Mimelech, malachei hamlachim, hakadosh baruch hu. Zeichem l'shalom, malachei hashalom, malachei elyon. Mimelech, malachei hamlachim, hakadosh baruch hu.
We will continue now with the candle blessing on page 1 or -2 or +3 or the square root of -1, which is? Square root of -1 is? Thank you. All right. We will continue now on 1.
Anybody to come join me up who would like to join in on the candle blessings tonight. I will lead us musically. I need a lighter and someone to help me bring in the light. Come on, Shiffy, come on down. You want to come in? Come on. It's okay. Absolutely. Please.
It's special.
Please stand, and if you're joining us online, you can stand at home as well if you wish.
We're going to wave the light in 3 times. Cover our eyes. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. Amen. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. You may be seated. We will continue now on page 18 with Lecha Dodi, page 18.
We're going to be doing verses 1, 2, 5, and 9, and I'll announce them as we go. Yalalalai Lecha Dodi, Yalalalai Likrat Kala, Yalalalai Penei Shabbat Nikabela, Yalalalai Lecha Dodi, Yalalalai Likrat Kala, Yalalalai Penei Shabbat Nikabela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad hishmiyanu elam yuchad Adonai echad u'shemo echad l'shemo tiferet v'litilah. Verse 2, Likrat Shabbat. Likrat Shabbat, lechu v'nelcha, ki mikor haberacha, merosh mikedem nesucha, sof ma'aseh b'machshava techila. Verse 5 starts with Hitol Riri. Hitol Riri, Hitol Riri, Kiva Orech, Kumi Ori, Uri, Uri, Shirna Beri, Kevod Adonai, Alayach Nigala. Here we go. Ya la la, ya la 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 la, lecha dodi. Ya la 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 la, likrat kala. Ya la 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 la, penei Shabbat nikam. Ya la 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 la, lecha dodi. Ya la 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 la, likrat kala. Ya la 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 la, penei Shabbat mikam. This is where we stand and we face the door to welcome the Shabbat bride. Boi v'shalom, ateret bala, גם בשמחה ובשולה, תוך אמוני עם סגולה, בואי כלה, בואי כלה. Last time.
Please, you may be seated. We're going to continue on 22, I hope, if it's in your books on 22 or near there, with Chatzi Kaddish.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, בילמד יברך ירותי וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי כל בית ישראל, בגלה בגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך לעולם ולעולמי עולמיה, יתברך יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומן ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי לקודשה בריחו לילה מכל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דמירן ביalma ואמרו Amen.
You may remain seated for the moment as we start I Am Awake going into Baruch Hu, and when we get to the Baruch Hu spot, I will invite you to stand. Or actually, Kim, since you know whether that will be, I'll invite you to invite them to stand.
Am I awake? Am I prepared? Are you listening to my prayer? Can you hear my voice? Can you understand? Am I awake? Am I prepared? Please rise. Yalla la la la, 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 yalla la la la. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam va'ed, Le'olam va'ed. Yalla lai lai lai, 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 yalla lai lai lai.
You may be seated. We will continue with the English on 25. 25, please join me. English in the middle of 25. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe, who speaks the evening into being, skillfully opens the gates, thoughtfully alters the time and changes the seasons, and arranges the stars in their heavenly courses according to plan. You are the creator of day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light, transforming day into night and distinguishing one from the other. Adonai Tzevaot is your name. ever-living God, may you reign continually over us into eternity. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on the evening. We will continue with Ahavat Olam on page 27.
Ahavat Olam, Beit Yisrael, Amcha Avta, Torah Mitzvot, Chokim u'Mishpatim, Otanu Limadita. Al Kein Adonai Eloheinu, B'Shofeinu u'B'Kumeinu, Nasiach Bechukecha, V'Nismach B'Divrei Toratecha, U'V'Mitzvotecha, Le'olam va'ed. Ki Hem Chayenu, V'Orech Yomeinu, V'Orech Yomeinu, Uvahem Negei, Yomam V'Layla, Yomam V'Layla. V'Avadcha al tasir mimenu le'olamim. Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael.
We will continue on page 30 with Listen, and at the end of that we'll rise for the Shema. So Kim will give you, cantorial soloist Kim will give you a signal to stand when it is time for the Shema.
If you're lost, you feel afraid, and you don't know what to say, then listen, listen to our God. Is there a question on your mind? Is the answer hard to find? Then listen, listen to our God. Listen with all your heart and soul, and with all your might. Write them and learn them and teach them well, every morning and night. Close your eyes and listen. Quiet yourself, there's nothing to say. Stop all the chatter that gets in the way, and listen, listen to our God. When the wind and the thunder finally disappear, there's still a voice that you will hear if you listen, listen to our God. You can hear it from the top of the highest hill, or from the valley below. It can come from the edge of the universe. It can come from within your soul. Close your eyes and listen. If it is your custom to stand for the Shema, please do so now. Nice and big and strong to God. Shema. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Shem kevod malechuto leolam va'ed. Listen, listen to our God. Listen, listen to our God.
You may be seated.
Please be seated.
31. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבבך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם, בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם להיות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות להם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אמת. We will continue now with Mi Chamocha on 37.
Mi chamocha va'elim Adonai, mi chamocha nedar b'kodesh, nora tehilot seifele, nora tehilot o seifele. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh, nora tehilot, nora tehilot, osei felem. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh, nora tehilot, nora tehilot, osei felem. This is call and response. Ready? Here we go. And the river is wide,
And the river is wide,
and the river is deep,
and the river is deep,
and the river is standing between you and me.
and freedom,
Freedom that we shall overcome one day. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh, nora tehilot, nora tehilot, osei felem. And the river is fear,
and the river is fear,
and the river is hate,
and the river is hate,
and the river is standing between you and the gates of freedom,
freedom,
that we shall overcome.
we will continue on the next page with Hashkivenu on 39.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu Lishalom V'hamidenu Shomreinu Lechaim. If you know it, sing it with me. Come on, Hashkivenu. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu Lishalom V'hamidenu Shomreinu Lechaim. Spread the shelter of your peace over us. Guide us in wisdom, compassion, and trust. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu Lishalom V'hamidenu Shomreinu Lechaim. Save us for the sake of your name. Shield us from hatred, sorrow, and pain. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu Lishalom V'hamidenu Shomreinu Lechaim. 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 Everybody, one last time. Lechaim. Lechaim.
Before we rise for Rishamru, our cantorial soloist has asked me to occasionally say a word or two about our prayers, and you may have noticed that I inserted a nice English reading towards the beginning of this service, and we are now approaching the standing silent prayer. Now, that is because the Shema, our central pillar of our concept of monotheism, is usually bracketed by 2 prayers at the beginning and 1 prayer at the end. And so I, being a bit of a stickler for tradition, tend to make sure we say all of them. But there's one other little special thing. Between these prayers, it is customary not to interrupt. And so, does anybody know what you say in a prayer that that interrupts the prayer? Anybody know?
Check it.
Close. Baruch Hu uvaruch Shemo, or for short. That is an interruption, whereas Amen is not considered an interruption. Amen is simply reinforcing. It means I ascribe, I check the box, I sign here. And so you will see when you go around to different congregations, people occasionally say Baruch Hu Baruch Shemo during that time. And if you see that, I want you to give them your most askance look. Because the Shema has 3 important components in it. A reminiscence of the creation of the world. In the case of the evening service, that's God who makes the day turn into night, creative process. Revelation, the gift of the Torah to us that we get to study. And redemption. Baruch atah Adonai Ga'al Yisrael. After the Shema, the redemption, the taking out of Egypt. And so those are the 3 prayers, 2 before and 1 after the Shema, and it's 1 complete block. So you will sometimes see me stick 1 or 2 extra things in there because, as I said, I'm a bit of a traditionalist. And so, what do you do if you go somewhere else and someone goes Baruch Hu, Baruch Shema in the middle of Shema? Perfect. All right, passive aggressiveness in synagogue is the cornerstone of Jewish life. All right, we're going to continue with Vishamru. Please rise, page 41.
You're going to need to explain this one as well, Rabbi.
Oh, is this the jumping one?
This is the jumping
Oh, right. You got to jump when people jump. So every time we say Vishamru, you jump. If you are not wearing appropriate shoes, or if, like me, your knees are not as good as they used to be, you can use a little push thing, however you want. So a prize, whoever jumps the highest gets to make motzi. That's the deal. Okay. 41.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם בברית.
We're warming up. Come on.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם בברית עולם.
ביני ובין בני ישראל, אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם בברית עולם.
כי ששת, כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם בברית עולם.
וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם בברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם בברית עולם.
You may be seated for a moment. I'm going to give it to Avi. I think that I saw him jump the highest. He has an advantage being rather tall to begin with, but I don't know what your par is that I have to calculate against. So we're going to continue with, right. I've been reminded that we're going to stand again for the standing silent prayer. And we're going to do that on page...
This is not in their books, but the Amidah obviously is. But open up your eyes.
Oh, open up your eyes is not in your book. So I guess please stand and enjoy some beautiful music.
Open up our eyes. Teach us how to live. Fill our hearts with joy and all the love you have to give. Gather us in peace as you lead us to your name, and we will know that you are one. Yes, we will know that you are one.
We'll continue with silent prayer. If you're still speaking to God, please continue at your own pace. If you have completed your standing prayer, page 57 or 59, Shalom Rav.
Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki atahu melech adon lechol hashalom. Ki atahu melech adon lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. B'toch be'enecha levarech et Amcha Yisrael b'chol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam.
And now, my friends, it's time for us to turn our minds to those who are in need of healing in our community and throughout the world this week. If you have names of people who are in need of healing, I welcome you to share them with us as we point in your direction. And additionally, if you want to share their relationship to you, friend, uncle, cousin, a neighbor, you're welcome to do that too. So we'll start over here. If you have names, I invite you to speak them now. Hinda Batsura and Surabat Leah, and also all of those who have an empty chair at their Shabbat table this evening. And finally, as always, all of those in the society around us in need of housing and health care. We will continue with Mishaberach on 63.
Mishaberach Avotenu Mekor habracha Limotenu. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Mishaberach imotenu mekor habracha liavoteinu. with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
Star date 45208.2, corresponding to the year 2368 CE, or in Jewish years, 6128. Commander William Riker of the USS Enterprise visits Risa, a planet dedicated to pleasure and recreation. Think Club Med in space. And while on Risa, Commander Riker is given a video game by a Kataran woman with whom he is romantically involved. The game, which is the name of the episode of Star Trek: The Next Generation that I will be talking about tonight, is worn around the neck, and it functions a bit like virtual reality glasses. And it projects a kind of hologram in which you play frisbee golf with your mind. There are kind of these buckets, and you have a frisbee, and you have to kind of put it in the bucket. However, the twist on the game is that each time the player beats a level, they are rewarded with a shot of dopamine to their brain. The game becomes increasingly harder to beat each time, creating dopamine cravings that cause addiction. Dopamine is the pleasure chemical in the brain, and it's released when we do things like win at a slot machine, winning a game of random chance, or finding a beautiful piece of antique furniture at a garage sale, or if you are a hunter-gatherer, finding a patch of berries hidden in the middle of the forest. Dopamine was once an extraordinarily advantageous chemical to have in our brains, because it was the chance of finding the berries in the forest and getting the shot of dopamine that kept us humans motivated to keep looking for them. It also is what keeps casinos in business. The slang word dope is derived from the cycle of addiction originally associated not with marijuana, as people tend to think of it now, but with opium. How did that happen? Well, back in the early 19th century, the British Empire started flooding China with opium, with the goal of lulling the Chinese imperial government into addiction and paralyzing it, paving the way for conquest. To protect itself and its officials, the government of China at the time, an imperial government at the time, tried to ban the sale of opium to its citizens, but Great Britain responded by declaring war on China in order to keep the floodgates open, and it doubled down, sending more and more opium into China. And by 1842, China was forced to sign the first in a series of concessionary treaties with Great Britain, which is how, by the way, Hong Kong became a British colony. The Chinese have never forgotten the lessons of the Opium Wars, and today President Xi is flooding the US with fentanyl through Mexico. And President Xi has in fact cited the Opium Wars as his inspiration for doing so. Returning to tonight's episode of Star Trek: The Next Generation. Sorry, Captain Kirk fans, you'll have to come back next week. Episode 106, The Game. So Commander Riker has been playing the game of Frisbee golf, and this game has been calibrated to maximally exploit the human dopamine reward system. And he becomes instantly addicted to the game, and he brings it back to the Enterprise from Risa, where he replicates the game and distributes it to everybody on the ship. Shortly thereafter, the entire crew becomes addicted to the game and is no longer able to pry themselves away in order to keep the Enterprise functioning and, more importantly, safe from being invaded by enemies. I was flabbergasted to discover a parallel in this week's Torah portion, Shemot, the beginning of the book of? Exodus. Try again. Beginning of the book of? Exodus. Beginning of the book of? Exodus. Thank you. The Israelites at the beginning of the book are enslaved in Egypt, and the Pharaoh is afraid they will rise up and overthrow him. So he wishes to eliminate the Israelites by demanding all the male Israelite babies be killed. And when he fails to come up with the required outcome, when the babies are in fact not killed, Pharaoh comes up with a crafty plan. Pharaoh tells the Egyptian taskmasters to tell the Israelite slaves, "You have a quota of mud bricks that you must make each day. And mud bricks require mud and straw. Now, up until now, all you had to do, we brought you the straw. We, the Egyptians, brought it to you, and you had to put it in the ground with the mud, and you had to, like in the Ten Commandments with Charlton Heston, dance in the thing and make the bricks. But now, we will no longer provide you the straw. But by the end of the day, you must have the same quota of bricks." The Israelites responded by saying this: "We ask for rest to go out with our families and observe our religious rituals, for we are exhausted." And the Pharaoh replies, "You are shirkers, you're lazy. You don't want to work. You will receive no break. Now you get to spend the few free hours you have at the end of the day gathering straw so that you can make your quota of bricks." Midrash Rabbah, which I feel comfortable calling rabbinic fan fiction since this sermon is based on an episode of Star Trek, in Shemot Rabbah on 1:15 helps us make sense of the story. It states that Pharaoh wished to keep the Israelites so exhausted by work that when they returned home at the end of the day, they were in a zombie-like state. That way, they would have no strength left for romance, and thus no Israelite children would be born. And so the whole population of Israelites would die off within a single generation. The lesson? Through overwhelm and a cycle of exploitation, the Israelites are rendered too weak to rise up or even to complete their work. Only a deus ex machina, a plot device, which means a god out of the machine, a god out of the plot, basically what we would call divine intervention. Only a non-human, only God who is not worried about physical exhaustion is able to save the Israelites. Moving back to tonight's episode of Star Trek. Enter Cadet Wesley Crusher, masterfully played by Will Wheaton, and his girlfriend played by a young Ashley Judd. The two have just returned to the Enterprise from Starfleet Academy, and they find the entire crew addicted to the game. Wesley reports his suspicions that the game may be a dangerous snare to Captain Picard, played by Patrick Stewart. Unfortunately, he is met by a blank, zombie-like stare from the captain, because Picard is addicted to the dopamine cycle of the game, and he has no strength left to think clearly, let alone command the ship or defended against attack. Over the course of the episode, Wesley remains the last person on the ship who is not addicted to the game. Senior officers try to get him to play through peer pressure, then by ordering him to play, and finally by making him play by force, by tying him down and putting one on him. And thus the entire crew is trapped in a cycle of addiction. Well, almost the entire crew. And now for the reveal. What's my sermon about? Anybody want to guess? How many of us have ever struggled with what we call email overwhelm? Anybody? Email overwhelm. It can be Facebook, it can be Instagram, it can be Reddit, it can be anything. That feeling of constantly needing to pull out our phones, to check our emails, to check the news, the stock ticker, or to open your text messages. How many of us have struggled to converse with our families and friends as they stare blankly at their phone? Zombie-like, wouldn't you say? Personally, I receive somewhere between 200 and 400 emails a day. Of those, maybe 70 need a response. The rest are I'm copied or spam or whatever, but it's a pretty big chunk. Gmail, Outlook, and Apple Mail, Instagram Messenger, Facebook Messenger, WhatsApp, Signal, Telegram, Reddit. These feel somehow off. Even the news websites that we check on a regular basis are not neutral. They are designed. And now, these days, all of us must accomplish and aim to accomplish the same amount that we did before, but now with an additional 2 to 4 hours a day, dealing with emails, texts, WhatsApps, push notifications, people liking our stuff on Facebook, people making nasty comments on Facebook, people reposting things all day long. The same amount of work, the same amount of play, the same amount of sleep, but now without the straw. Now we must make the same quota of bricks without the straw. We must do extra work to keep in place. The dopamine-fueled compulsion to check our email or open TikTok or Reddit or text leads to a peer pressure to be available and to respond often. And because all the people around you are playing with your phones, we also feel a need to respond quickly. And this need is often so immense that many people report struggling to keep up with the demand. Now, all of these technologies have been meticulously calibrated by thousands of scientists and psychiatrists who work for Google, Microsoft, and Apple to make these things maximally addictive. The outcomes, as reported in studies and even in congressional hearings, are decreases in attention span, the inability to engage in deep work and creativity, and a loss of a sense of mental well-being. The field of capturing and holding human attention through dopamine manipulation is known as captology, as in to capture or to enslave. Captologists are responsible for making Instagram addictive by finding the right balance of posts to make doom scrolling into a dopamine treasure hunt. And Meta, the parent company of Instagram and Facebook, has been raked over the coals by Congress for knowingly programming their products to ensnare children and teenagers, even when the companies knew that these practices were leading to teenage eating disorders, body dysmorphia, and even teenage suicide. We may be surprised to learn that tech giants like Bill Gates, the late Steve Jobs, Mark Cuban, and even Mark Zuckerberg restrict or ban these technologies from use by their own children. And now for the thrilling conclusion of tonight's episode of Star Trek. The Next Generation, just to be clear. 344 years in the future, with Ensign Wesley Crusher, the last free human on the ship, in a zombie-like, opium-like paralysis. The Katarans, remember I mentioned the Katarans at the beginning of the show? The Katarans, it was a Kataran woman who had given Commander Riker the game in the first place, was it not? The machines send out a signal to the Katarans. The ship is paralyzed. The crew is subdued. And all of a sudden, a Kataran warship appears off the bow of the Enterprise, ready to capture the drug-addled crew, echoing the tactics of the British against the Chinese during the Opium Wars. Fortunately, the crew is saved by divine intervention. Well, not exactly divine intervention. Divine intervention is Deus ex machina. This is machina ex machina. This is a robot out of the machine. The crew is saved by Lieutenant Commander Data, a non-human android. Data is immune to the dopamine cycle because Data has what's called a positronic net for a brain, an electric brain without dopamine. And so the android, Lieutenant Commander Data, is able to ascertain the properties of the game, how it works, what it's for. And what it's for, he ascertains, is to make humans susceptible to the power of suggestion and thus follow instructions from the game's creators, the Katarans. Data creates a strobe light out of his palm that breaks the addictive dopamine cycle, and the crew of the Enterprise shakes off their opium-like trance, regains control of the ship, and captures the much smaller and weaker Kataran vessel, which turns out to be under the command of, big reveal, the very woman who had given Commander Riker the game in the first place. It had been a plot the entire time. With the crew freed from their dopamine-fueled stupor, and with the enemy outwitted and defeated, Ensign Crusher and his girlfriend, played by Ashley Judd, give a touching farewell, and the Enterprise jumps into warp and heads off to its next destination. Roll credits. Our Jewish tradition states that on Shabbat, we are to avoid physically and emotionally draining activities. And I would say in 2024, the best way to honor Shabbat, with the exception of being here or watching us on Zoom and Facebook, is once the service is over, close your computer, turn your phone off. If you want to read the news on Shabbat, order a newspaper subscription. They still exist, and I, your rabbi, still have one, because it's difficult to doom scroll the LA Times. If we wish to take a break from the game, I give you permission to do so. As someone who regularly shuts down their tech on Shabbat, I can share with you that is surprisingly challenging. It may feel like detoxing from opium because the mechanism is very similar, and we may find ourselves with cravings, phantom emails, and buzzes. Has anybody ever reached for their phone and it's not in their pocket? You may find yourself with the craving to indulge. But trust me, my friends, my congregation, my fellow Jews, try to resist for even a single day per week. Our Torah, our God, and our tradition give us permission to do so. And trust me, my friends, if you do, your brain will thank you. Not Yivarechecha. Live long and prosper, and Shabbat Shalom. We will continue now with Aleinu on 64. Please rise.
Sometimes I lay under the moon. I thank God I'm breathing. Then I pray, don't take me soon. 'Cause I'm here for a reason. Sometimes in my tears I drown, but I never let it get me down. So when negativity surrounds, I know someday it'll all turn around, because all my life I've been waiting for, I've been praying for the people to say that we don't want to fight no more. There'll be no more wars, and our children will play. One day, one day, one day, one day, one day, one day. We're gonna sing Aleinu. V'nemar v'haya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz bayom hahu yihyeh Adonai echad. Ushemo, Ushemo, Ushemo. One day, one day, one day. Come on, your fingers up. One day, one day, one day. One day, one day, one day.
You may be seated. We turn our minds now to those who are no longer with us physically. This week we mourn the loss of we continue to mourn the loss of Warren Hoffnung, the beloved husband of our member Marla Silva, and Victoria Levine, beloved mother of our member Joel Levine. We also continue to mourn Martin Cole. And the following are the yard sites for this week. We observe the yard sites from the current week from last Sunday to today. If your custom is